Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Isolation Play, the sports podcast show for anybody who wants to hear four regular guys just talk about sports. I'm Alex Budish, and alongside me, as always, are my three co-hosts, Travis Hall, Michael Schlossberg, and Steven DeAugustino. Say what's up, guys.
How's it going?
What's up, everyone?
Hey, everybody.
It's my favorite part of the show, just waiting for all three guys to hit the pause and then say hi. Travis, I know you're gonna try and jump ahead on this, but I'm gonna ask you, and I'm gonna get ahead of this, and we can take it back to the Rams, I guess, from a law profession. There's a couple of players that are kind of mad going around the NFL, filing a little bit of a grievance. Some thinking about it, some aren't. And I don't want to say what team they're thinking about, but I guess I already did. What do you think about players and where their leg to stand on about trying to get paid after they've been cut?
Yeah, so definitely want to get your thoughts on this because the most prevalent one in the news right now is Clay Matthews has just filed a grievance against the Rams. He was recently released. He's owed $2 million in guarantees. The GM of the Rams, Les Snead, has admitted that he's owed this money and he will get paid. But the Rams are taking advantage of a tax loophole, which allows them to defer this payment. Not a great look for an NFL franchise to be holding a guy's $2 million just to save a little bit in taxes. But Budish, you got split loyalties here. Obviously, the Rams are your NFL team. And for those of you who don't know, Clay Matthews is the pride of Gore High School. So who do you side with here?
Go Chargers, baby. Travis Salavai. There's got to be our most famous alum from our high school, right, Travis? We like to say that Lincoln Park and Hoobastank went there too, but I don't think that there's.
Wow, that's a who's who. That's a who's who.
Yeah. My wife always hates it because I was like, oh yeah, those guys went to my high school, and she's like, everybody went to your high school.
We got
split loyalties. My loyalties lie to the truth, and the truth is that the Rams are becoming a joke around the NFL in a lot of different ways. A, making terrible signings or overpaying players for those positions. And B, just kind of looking really – you're building like a $1,700 billion stadium. You've got all this big revenue money that's going to come in when the NFL comes back. You're playing in Los Angeles. The money's there, and you're holding out $2 million against a guy that came to try and do good work for you. And on top of that, too, Gurley tweeted out a month ago, maybe a little bit less, saying, where's my money, Rams? Like, they owe him money too, and he's talking about filing a grievance. Like, there's a lot of ways to get around. These NFL teams can get around it, but this one is just really shady, especially for only $2 million. Like, give the guy his money. Like, he probably made $2 million in jersey sales even with this lockdown. You know what I mean? Like, it seems a little ridiculous. What do you think?
I will say, I'll step in here. I will say that this new era of the NFL is really going to bite franchises in the butt with this because we're seeing an era where guys are not afraid to sit out and not play. Guys are not afraid to get on social media and destroy their GMs and their coaches. It used to be back in the day, you got drafted somewhere, you bit the bullet and you played your whole career there no matter what. Guys are not sticking for that anymore. I mean, Budish, you got a guy on your team named Jalen Ramsey who's there largely in part because he just refused to play in Jacksonville. And we have a guy, Yannick Ngakoue, who's probably not going to suit it up ever again until he gets traded. So the more that this goes around and these grievances get out against franchises like the Rams, it's going to hurt them in the long run. The players aren't just going to go.
Yeah, and it's a topic for another day, and I'll get a quick thought before we move on to the next subject. We could do a whole show on the prima donnas and the big babies around the leagues. I mean, it's not just the NFL, it's the NBA, it's the MLB. I mean, I'm reminded, and Schlossberg, you're the historian of this group, but I'm reminded of a player in the NBA named Latrell Sprewell when he was going for I think he was like the first major contract. It was something like 5 years and $70 million. And he rejected that. I think it was still the Timberwolves. Was it the Timberwolves or your Knicks? It was one of the two.
No, it was with the Timberwolves. I think the contract was a little bit less. I think it was somewhere in the nature of 3 years and $24 million, not to
but it was something,
step
it
all
was
over
a big contract.
And he's like, I got to feed. Yeah, he's like, I got a family to feed. And it's just like, you sound so ridiculous by saying this. Like, most of America living paycheck to paycheck, scrapping by, working multiple jobs just to, pay the bills and all that. And they're lucky if they can come watch you play once a year. And baseball, to kind of switch a little bit with this, baseball is going to be going through this right now. If these owners and players can't get over the fact that if the games have no fans in the stands, that they're arguing about how to split up that missing revenue, which is somewhere in the nature of 35 to 40% of MLB's revenue by game day gate receipts. So they're going to look real bad to the fans, especially right now who are out of work, if they're going to try to pull this nonsense and argue about this money.
Yeah, and that's the point. Like, you could go both ways. I guess closing the subject on this before we could do a whole show on this. I'm just trying to feed my family line. Like, I get that owners and players have to look out for themselves right now, but like, if we're scrapping over $2 million, how many people in the country right now wouldn't kill for $2 million? You know what I mean? Like, just pay the guys money and move on. It just doesn't look good. And if you are one of those Jalen Ramsey type players that are upset with $17 million over $15 million, like, just stop. But whatever, that's a topic for another day. But on that subject, moving forward, the NCAA, a lot of big movement here. Travis, I'm going to tee it off to you because you are a UCLA fan. It seems like a rite of passage for an elite team. Now, Stephen, I don't know if your UCF Knights have ever gone through this, but for the University of Arizona, we are all too familiar with this. And obviously, Travis, you're going through it now. Daishen Nix, your 5-star recruit, your top player, has now decommitted to go to the G League, and he joins 2 other top 20 players, so now 3 total, foregoing college to go to the G League to make money before they go to the NBA. What do you think about that?
Yeah, new trend in college basketball, and it'll be interesting to see where this goes. A lot of the top guys now see this pathway through the G League. They spend 1 year. Someone like Jalen Green, who is the #1 ranked recruit on ESPN, supposedly he's going to make a base salary of $500,000. Daishen Nix, who is committed to UCLA, is supposed to be making $300,000. And so a lot of these guys who, are good high school recruits would be drafted if they could go pro now. See, why would I go to college? Why would I spend a year there when I can go to the G League and make significant money? And so it hit home with Daishen Nix. He's the only one of the 3 who actually signed a letter of intent with UCLA, only to then back out. The other 2 guys hadn't picked yet. But I think this is an interesting trend to monitor, not only for the rest of this season, but with next season too. Are any of these top recruits in the 2021 class going to go to college? Or are they going to see what these guys are doing and say, I can get a quick paycheck for a year before going to the NBA? Why not do that? So I'm curious to see what you guys think the NCAA can do. And if these high school recruits are making the correct decision in going to the G League for a year.
Now, Schlossberg, we've seen this years ago when we were about to go to college. We were about to be freshmen at the University of Arizona. Brandon Jennings had committed to come to the University of Arizona. This is probably one of the more famous ones, like the first one that happened. He decided to go to Europe. We blew up our whole recruiting class.
Well, no. He couldn't score high enough on the SAT, from what I remember, to get into
Schlossberg. Anyone, you get 300 points for filling your name out. Of course he could have done. He just decided to go to Europe. I think that was all a cover. He wanted to go make money. That was always my theory. But fine, forgetting that. We've seen this now as a trend moving forward. What can the NCAA do to try and combat this?
Well, here's the thing what they can do, and they made a great move yesterday by saying essentially you can make money off your likeness. You just can't put the school's logo, the conference logo, anything like that. This at least makes it, legal-ish, we're going to say. We could always defer to the lawyer, Travis, of the group here. But this at least makes it legal-ish, like I just said, to at least get some type of money while you go to school. I think the moves by these 3 gentlemen are making is incredibly short-sighted. Who wants to go play for the Maine Red Claws or the Rio Grande Valley Rapids? I don't know if that's even the name, but you get my idea here. You might as well go live it up on a college campus for a year. Make these endorsements from the car dealerships and whatever you can get, the hot dog stands on campus there, be the kind of spokesperson for them. And, you go to play for a John Calipari, a Mike Krzyzewski. These guys have immense networks. They've been doing it for a while. They can get you to the right people probably to help stuff your pockets, at least up to that level. I'm not accusing anyone of anything here, but let's just be honest. These guys have probably been taking money and handshakes and under the table type of stuff for a while. And I feel like the coaching in college is significantly better. You go through and look at some of these G League coaches. The best one I could find is Nick Nurse, of course, who coached the Toronto Raptors to a championship last year. The next best one I can find is the current temporary head coach of my New York Knicks, Mike Miller, not the strong shooter from Florida, the older gentleman, Mike Miller, who's, of course, coaching the team. So to me, it's very short-sighted. Yeah, $500,000 is a lot of money, but they're turning down a lot of opportunities to make some endorsements while at school now with the new rule and get, quite frankly, better coaching from more seasoned coaches like Krzyzewski and Calipari.
Yeah, I think the problem here is the current rule that requires you to go to college for 1 year. That doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve the players. If you're going to college for 1 year, it means you have to pass one semester worth of classes and you don't have to go to school anymore. You're not spending enough time in the system with these coaches to develop. And it doesn't help these teams. These coaches are having to recruit a new starting five every year. You can't build a program based on that. So I think the only real answer, and I agree, I think the change to allow these athletes to profit off their likeness is a good first move. I mean, it's the same opportunities that are offered to any other college student. If we're in college and we get paid to be an Instagram influencer, get paid to make an appearance, we're allowed to do that. It's just athletes who can't. So I think evening out that helps. But I think what you need to do if you're the NCAA basketball is you have to go to a hybrid of the baseball system, and you have to make it where if you're 18 and you're one of these guys who wants to go pro, do it. I mean, you're betting on yourself. Some of these guys might be lottery picks. Some of them might be second-round picks, and it never works out. But I think there's enough evidence, whether it's, LeBron, Kobe, Kevin Garnett, there's enough guys who come out of high school who can make it. So you have to give these kids the opportunity. But for those who want to go to college, make it 2 years. Make it so that they can actually learn under these coaches and develop their games and help these schools develop their programs and help make college basketball watchable again. If we're heading towards a system where the top recruits are just going to go to the G League or go play overseas so they can get a quick paycheck, college basketball isn't going to be watchable anymore. There's not going to be enough talent.
I think that it's a little bit about the money, but it's also a lot about the branding. What's really intriguing about this kind of face-off between the NBA and NCAA is that the NBA is the undisputed king of marketing and branding. They do such a good job about marketing and really giving an identity to their superstars to where fans don't even really root for teams anymore. You just have a guy, you love seeing guys. And I think kids see that, and then at the far end of the other spectrum, you have the NCAA that hammers home this get rid of individuality. You can't brand yourself. You can't be out in the open. You can't make money. You're part of a team. You're part of our little group, and you have no identity whatsoever. And so I think kids really see that. And even though the G League might not have great coaches, you're not making a lot of money. That's a fast track to being able to really build your own brand. And in today's world, with these kids coming out of high school, that's all that matters anymore. We see it with kids that, that they'll do the hat ceremonies for the NFL draft, that really building their own character and their own stock. And I think, the NBA does a really good job of identifying that and knowing that that's what these kids want. So give them a jersey, give them somewhere to play professionally, start marketing them immediately, and then you're going to get those kids. The NCAA needs to do a better job of that, and I think this is a step in that direction.
Just one more thing to add real quick here on these NCAA athletes being able to profit off their own likeness. This is going to impact the football players. Now, it's not going to impact all 100 of them on the roster, but it'll positively impact the starting quarterback on the football team, who everyone knows who they are, because here's guys who could get injured, could have their whole athletic careers wiped away on one play. And I think this will help them maybe make some money off the field just in case something was to unfortunately happen to them on the field.
It's pretty straightforward for me on this one, and it's staggering that it's taken this long to argue it, but I really like the word staggering. Why wouldn't top athletes go make money right now? There is no incentive in my mind, and I want to agree with you, Schlossberg, that being the big man on college campuses, I'm tailoring this specifically to college basketball, would be fun, and it would be kind of beneficial for learning under guys like Calipari and Krzyzewski, but it's not. It's not. These guys don't care. They don't learn anything from these coaches. They just want to go and make money. You play half-assed for a year, and then you go on and you go and get drafted, and then you learn. That's how these guys do it. You think guys like Zach LaVine coming out of UCLA were touted because of their knowledge that they learned under, who was it, Steve Alford? Was that right, Travis? No, they didn't learn anything under there. They knew because they have athletic ability. These guys that are going to go make $500,000, $300,000, $125,000 in the G League are going to learn more on how to play against professional athletes than they would in college. Now, I'm not saying that I want this to happen, but on the same side of it, for a college basketball fanatic like myself, it's going to be more competitive when these top 20 players don't go to college anymore. You're going to have to fight out for these 3- and 4-star players that are going to get better over 1 or 2 years, that aren't going to be these elite athletes in the NBA, but are going to want to play good college basketball.
Yeah, I agree. Second big take in a row. Good job by you. But there's just no incentive for these guys to go play a year of college basketball when it's not going to help them at all. These are the types of guys that would be picked out of high school anyway. I think if you can revise the system and guys have to go to college for 2 years, then they can really start to develop their games. And there's actually benefit for NBA teams in drafting 20-year-olds who have played 2 years of meaningful college basketball than these guys who are just playing AAU ball, high school ball, and then 1 year in the G League with their friends, which is just essentially it's an extension of AAU ball. The counter argument, though, is, everybody's going to get their rookie deal if you're a top 20 high school recruit. I mean, unless you just completely flame out in college, you're getting drafted. The thing is, you need to set up your second contract. It's the second contract where these guys get paid with the big 5-year max $100 million extensions. And so the question that it'll be interesting to see going forward is, does the G League better prepare these guys for the NBA than playing a year of college? But ultimately, I'm with you. The system needs to be revised and letting guys go into the pros out of high school if they want to, or going 2 years of college basketball.
Schlossberg, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how this is going to impact the NCAA game, like you said, because I know we're all pretty big college basketball guys. And I'm going to dive into history because you've called me the show's historian here. So I think about some great NCAA teams, and this is a little bit before our time. The 1994 Arkansas Razorbacks, okay, coached by the great Nolan Richardson, Corliss Williamson, a solid NBA pro on the team. But there were only 2 other guys. I just looked this up. 2 other guys on his team who even made the NBA, even played a game. A guy by the name of Corey Beck and Clint McDaniel. And these 2 gentlemen, I wouldn't know them if they fell on me, or if they were sitting in my backyard shooting hoops, I wouldn't know who they were. They played only a combined 100 games, but they contributed and were top players on this Arkansas team. So I think that if you don't have as many one-and-done guys, you go back to the era like the mid-'90s I'm talking about, the college game is going to be significantly more competitive. You'll see guys playing for 4 years. We'll know who they are. We'll be excited for the Monday night Big East, Big 12 showdowns that we all grew up with because we'll know who these players are. They're not in and out after 1 year. NCAA basketball now, I don't know who the people are unless they play at Arizona or maybe UCLA. And it gets to the tournament, I still don't know who these guys are, and I'm filling out the bracket randomly. Get me something where I know who these guys are, even if they're not going to be elite pros, but give me someone who I know. Give me some familiarity. I think we all, as sports fans, love familiarity, and that's what this rule will help us have.
Steven, I'm tempted to I don't want to insult your school, but obviously, like on a college basketball level, you probably can admit that your school isn't on the level of recruiting that the Arizonas, the UCLAs, the Dukes, the North Carolinas, what have you, can get.
Listen, you guys have insulted my UCF Knights. I'm hearing Maine Red Crab insults earlier in the show. My boy Taco Fall is killing it for the Maine Lobsters or whatever. I don't know. I'm a lifelong fan. I got to learn the name though. To answer your question, no, I'm not really worried. I mean, the thing about college sports in general is that to me it's entertaining because of the pageantry and the rivalry between schools and organizations. Like if a kid doesn't show up, if you don't get a 5-star recruit, it's all about coaching. It's all about the team, and that's what the NCAA wants anyway. Our football team has done the same thing for years by making their bread on 2-3 stars. And, if it has to bump down a tier where, if the top programs are getting 3 and 4s and we have to go with 2 and 3s, I mean, that's just the way of the world. I think college athletics will be okay. This facade needs to end though, where college athletics trying to pretend that it's anything else about money. As Dwayne Haskins famously said, I'm here to play football, not play school. That's the truth. None of these kids are here for anything other than, setting themselves up financially in the future. If the NCAA either needs to accept that and let them go or make changes to keep them, like you guys are saying, but this idiocy in the middle can't last forever. I don't think it's going to.
All really good points about the NCAA, and since I can't think of a funny segue now, I'm going to send it over to Steven for some hot social media takes.
Well, yeah, you pick on me all segment, and then you throw it to my segment at the end to kind of make me feel better. I'm not buying it, Budish. Social media today, I caught this morning. It's something I think we all can relate to. It's a gentleman whose late father, he was remembering, just going through some of his stuff, and he came across this batch of letters. His late father, a lifelong Cubs fan who, as you can imagine through Cubs fandom, very tumultuous ride with mostly a lot of valleys and less peaks. But every time his fandom would waver, he would write a letter to other MLB team saying he was a free agent fan. And some of these letters are absolutely hilarious. I believe 2 of them, one from the Brewers and the Expos at the time, actually said, no, we don't want your fandom. So I just thought, so we could all relate to that. I'll go with you, Travis. Out of all of your sports teams, which ones have made you want to write a letter to other teams to be a fan?
Let me think about that. All of them? Let's go through my list. The Clippers never have made a Western Conference Finals. The Chargers have never made a Super Bowl. The Angels have made one World Series and actually won that. So that's my greatest sports franchise. So I don't think any other team wants my fandom.
You don't remember Stan Humphries against the 49ers? The Chargers didn't make the Super Bowl, really? Interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry. They've made a Super Bowl but never won it.
You were a little too young, and I was a little too young, so we'll cut you some slack there. That's okay.
Schloss, I'll just cut to the chase with you. What is the one moment in Knicks history that made you want to write a letter to another team to say you're a fan?
Every day since 1999 when they were in the NBA Finals. You know, the Knicks made 2 NBA Finals in the 90s. A lot of people forget that. 94 and 99, of course. 94 I was a little too young to enjoy. I was about 5 years old then. But, yeah, the Knicks are pretty much the only team I could wish I could hop off. All the success, and you look at some of the back of it, the 2 Super Bowls that the Giants won in a 5-year period. Yankees, of course, with 5 World Championships during my life. 96 was probably the greatest of them just because I was so young. My dad was at Game 6 of the clinching game watching Wade Boggs ride around the horse. Honestly, the only team that I wish I could get off of, besides the Knicks, because that's obvious, Budish, I hope you don't hate me, has to be our Arizona Wildcats. Because that team has punched me in the face time after time again. I could go through all these historic losses, whether it be 2011, 2013, 2014, knocking at the doorstep with NBA players all over the place, and the coach couldn't draw up a play in the last second to save his life. That's the one team I wish I could get away from.
You're ditching them for Ohio now.
Yeah, hold on. Steven, I'm going to let you I'm going to let you wrap this up, but I'm insulted by that, Schlossberg. You can't listen. I broke a chair in the Anaheim Convention Center when we missed the 3-pointer over UConn in that game. I was standing right next to Gary Budish. I broke a chair in rage because I was so mad. I was right there, right on the baseline to watch the shot.
What does that have to do with me being upset?
I said you can't back out of your team because they heartbreak law. That's the one thing you can't leave. It's in your blood. That's the one thing that's where you went.
You can't quit your
college. But how am I back? I never said I am. I said I wanted to because all the times that they've kicked me right square in between the eyes.
No, I can't disagree with you that they, especially even on the regular season games, they just find ways to lose now that I just want to make my
Budish full named his dad. That's how you know how upset he is with it.
Gary Budish is a legend, just for the record. Gotta love Gary.
I will put you on the spot though. If I'm not questioning your Wildcat fandom, but if you had to write another letter to a team in the Pac-12, if you had to, who would be the second team that you'd write a letter to?
This is interesting. I know where Travis is going to want me to go on this one, obviously.
You know, so I have pictures.
I grew up in Los Angeles. I was a UCLA fan.
Can we get those pictures? I'm
sure the legends Gary and Barbara Budish have them somewhere in the house, just like Barry and Meryl Schlossberg have.
That needs to get on the show.
But it's interesting to me, and I'm not going to try and offend Travis or my father, who are UCLA fans at this. But I grew up a UCLA fan. I wasn't smart enough to go to the school, obviously, and then when I was enamored with the University of Arizona. If I had to write a letter to another school in the Pac-12 for my fandom, I can tell you for sure it's not going to be Arizona State. I despise everything about them. But I would have to say, that's really interesting. I'm gonna switch gears. Everyone in my family would expect me to say UCLA. I'm actually going to say Oregon, and I'll tell you why. When I was debating going to college, I took a visit to the University of Oregon. It was between Oregon and Arizona, and the only reason I didn't go to Oregon is because it rained half of the tour that we were there, and the woman was like, "Oh, this is the greatest day of weather we've had in months." And I looked right at Gary Budish and was like, "We got to get out of here." I'm a shoe collector. A lot of people know about me. Nike is ingrained in my heart. It has been forever. So to be that close to Nike headquarters with their facilities and their fun uniforms and their swag and everybody's so cool about them, that's where I would probably switch my allegiance. But I'll tell you one thing, Stephen, it will never happen.
I know. I just want to get it on record just in case down the road something happens. We could dive back into this quote. And then
Don't worry, Travis. UCLA would be a close second on that list, but I just couldn't do it again. It's been too far removed with your terrible trash talk for years. I can never support them ever again.
We don't need you with our 11 basketball championships.
Yeah, the last one. You know what's more embarrassing about that before we move on? As you like to say, your 11 basketball championships, only one coming in your lifetime. The last Pac-12 team to win a basketball national championship, that would be the University of Arizona in 1997. That's got to be more embarrassing to call ourselves the Conference of Champions, yet we can't seem to win a real championship.
The Conference of Champions in Olympic sports, swimming and rowing and, all sorts
That's
of
why,
stuff.
Steven, you got to come on over to the Conference of Champions. Wrestling, we do okay over there.
Yeah, not too bad. It's no Big Ten, but not too bad.
I like that, Steven's social take. But it brings me to remind me about fanhood and the MLB. And I call Schlossberg a lot of things on this show early in our shows here. The grandfather, the historian, the what have you. But you are a baseball enthusiast, Schlossberg. No one can take that away from you. And I'm interested in this little tidbit of MLB news going around that I have my own opinions on. I'm sure you guys do too. The MLB decided to push back the Hall of Fame ceremony so guys like Derek Jeter aren't getting inducted until 2021. What do you think about that, Schloss? And you got a little rant for me.
Yeah, so we'll take it. The Jeter part, it's irrelevant. This guy's been a Hall of Famer since the day he walked off the field in 2014. 5 championships, 314 average. We all know that. Jeter, the leader, the consummate New York Yankee, the last Yankee to have his number, probably retired for a while here. So that's not really the point. My point is this, my rant, and here's what it's going to be about. The MLB Hall of Fame voters, it seems like these guys are a bunch of nerds who played Stratomatic baseball. There's little to no consistency in the way that they vote. We've had a lot of time here in the quarantine to kind of look through some statistics, and I spend quite a bit of time on Baseball Reference looking at guys, seeing their stats. I don't know what these guys are looking for. Is it power? Is it consistency? That joke of a veterans committee, I don't even know if that's what it's called anymore. They put Harold Baines in. That is a guy who is not a Hall of Famer. You cannot convince me any other way. That guy was an average to mediocre player with the Orioles and the White Sox his whole career. He's an ultimate compiler. So then I look at guys who should be in the Hall of Fame. And I got a little bit of a list here, and I'll give you some statistics. I don't want to get too crazy here. Todd Helton, only been on the ballot for 1 year, 414 on base percentage. Is that not good enough? Because I thought that it's all about taking walks and drawing walks and getting on base, but apparently that's not good enough. Let's not vote him in. Fred McGriff, 493 home runs, 284 average. That's not good enough. Are you telling me if he had 7 more home runs and was at 500 home runs, you'd vote him in? Because the 7 home runs should not make a difference. Fred McGriff was the first baseman on the championship 1995 Atlanta Braves team. That's good enough to get in as far as I'm concerned. Jim Edmonds, they're placing a premium on defense now. You look at the Oakland A's, how they build now, and Matt Chapman and Matt Olson are supposed to be the best corner defensive infielders the world has ever seen. So Jim Edmonds apparently is not good enough with all his gold gloves to get in. 393 home runs, 60.4 WAR, which is better than Vlad Guerrero's 59 WAR. WAR is, of course, wins above replacement. That's not good enough to get him in. But yet Andre Dawson and his 323 on base percentage is good enough to be a Hall of Famer. These guys are totally clueless. And if they want to show me some type of consistency that 3,000 hits is worth something, when my guy Nick Markakis from Glen Cove, New York, he's at 2355 hits right now. He needs 129 more hits each of the next 5 seasons to get to 3,000. I want to see that guy get voted in, because that should show me that you at least are willing to stick to something, that 3,000 hits are willing to get voted in. Now, Nick Markakis is an absolute anonymous, completely random player that has contributed nothing for the most part to the history of the game, just been a steady and consistent performer. But if you at least vote him in a few years when he retires, this is 10, 15 years down the line here, at least you'll show me that you have some type of some type of consistency, and that you have some type of legs to stand on. Because if not, you're a joke, you baseball writers.
So Schlossberg calling someone a nerd is my new favorite thing. Do you call your kids nerds in the class, Schloss?
The kids who are nerds, those are the ones who are going places. So if I was to do that, which I don't, the nerds are the ones who are going places. Those are going to be the ones that are your doctors, lawyers, and future leaders of the world. And I'm teaching them the math to get there.
Boss has more confidence now that he lost the Call of Duty headset.
Had to make a change. Went with the ghetto, what do you call these, the AirPods. This one's falling out of my ear.
All right, guys, that's been a pretty good episode. Let's get some final thoughts in there. Steven, what do you got for me?
Yesterday was my dad's birthday. So happy birthday, Dad. He's not on social media, nor does he watch this, so it'll go on deaf ears. But it is out in the ether that I wish him a happy birthday, and so that's what I'm going with. How about you, Travis?
Shout out.
You said, Trev?
I think we need a full name shout out. We've established
I'm not upset. I think Steve DiAgostino. I'll save it for like a really fiery Budish light style rant if college football season happens. He'll get a full name. But yeah, Papa Steve, happy birthday.
Son of Barry Schlossberg, Michael Schlossberg. What do you got for me?
And my closing takes are these voters, like I said, they got to have some of their head examined. I like that some of them do post their ballots online. And it's a shame Jeter and Larry Walker aren't going to get their chance to shine in the sun here. But that's okay. It'll wait till next summer. Derek Jeter, I'll let you guys argue about that all you want for next time. And I look forward. I'm thinking about for the next Schloss rant, it'll be an ongoing series in which I kind of dissect the most painful moments in my sports fandom history. What do you guys think?
I love it.
I feed off the anguish of others. So it gives me strength. So I approve.
That's what makes us real sports fans, enjoying the misery of other sports fans. The pride of Lisa Hall himself. Travis Hall, what do you got for me?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go point for point on sports anguish, but just a quick programming note for those interested. ESPN Classic is running the old dunk contest this week, so if you're a big fan, tune in. You can send your hate mail to Schlossberg too.
Oh God, dunk contest.
I like it. I think it's been a very fun episode. Obviously, my last closing point is. If the NCAA is really going to tell those guys to go get their money, then I think I got a year of eligibility. Let me go suit up for 1 or 2 games, and I think I can launch a 3 out there from distance. But for now, that's going to do it for the isolation play. I appreciate all my guys and co-hosts taking around and talking some sports. Until next time, have a good one.